The moment the alien queen's daughter ran to me, the palace went silent. Marcus Vale had learned 3 things in 15 years as an environmental systems engineer. Air recyclers failed only when lives depended on them. Oil stains were immortal. And no matter how much money he spent, formal wear made him look like a man who had wandered into the wrong wedding. All 3 lessons were proving correct as he stood beneath the crystalline vaults of Celestia Prime's throne room, tugging at a collar that felt like it had been designed by a species with no regard for oxygen flow. The annual convergence was in full swing. 47 star systems represented, each delegate a walking argument against the idea of normal. Methane-breathing Carathi hovered in sealed suits. A Selene ambassador clicked softly as her Gill humidifier struggled to keep up. Members of the chorus collective debated greeting etiquette with themselves in layered harmony. Marcus represented humanity purely by accident. His company had won the palace's environmental contract, and someone had decided an engineer should attend just in case. He positioned himself beside a column of solidified light, attempting the professional art of being present but invisible. The Celestians made that difficult. They moved with effortless grace, long swept-back ears shifting independently to track conversations Marcus couldn't even hear. Their hearing was terrifyingly precise. He'd watched a court official follow 3 conversations at once while participating in a 4th. Queen Vendra presided from an opalescent throne that looked grown rather than built. She radiated authority without effort, ancient amber eyes missing nothing. Beside her sat Princess Listen, small, rigid in ceremonial robes, ears twitching with suppressed boredom. Marcus was calculating airflow patterns to avoid falling asleep when Listen's head snapped toward him. Not curiosity, recognition. She didn't walk, she ran. Through diplomats, past stunned guards, straight at him. Marcus barely had time to register the incoming disaster before 6-year-old royalty collided with his legs and wrapped around his waist like a guided missile of joy. "It's you," she shouted into his jacket. "It's the nice man." Silence fell like a vacuum breach. Marcus froze, staring down at the princess clinging to him while 47 civilizations collectively reconsidered humanity. Then Queen Vendra rose from her throne, and Marcus realized with cold clarity that whatever he'd done 3 weeks ago had just detonated his life. Marcus had no idea why the princess knew him, only that the queen absolutely did. Queen Vendra's approach was slow, controlled, and infinitely worse than anger. Glaciers had nothing on Celestian composure. "Mr. Vale," she said, "not a question. You will accompany me." Marcus nodded, mostly because bowing with a child welded to his torso felt impossible. Princess Listen tightened her grip like she'd sensed danger. "This is the nice man from the station," Listen announced proudly. "He made me laugh." The memory finally slammed into place. 3 weeks ago. Orbital station market, lunch break. A crying child by a fountain, lost and overwhelmed. Marcus had done what his father once did for him. Sat down, stayed visible, told dumb work stories until fear cracked into laughter. No politics, no leverage, just 15 minutes of basic human decency. Apparently that had been enough. The private chamber felt more dangerous than the throne room. Fewer witnesses. Real decisions. Listen climbed into Marcus's lap the moment he sat, already asleep. "Explain," the queen said. Marcus did. Awkwardly, honestly, no heroics. Just a scared kid and an engineer who couldn't walk past it. "You didn't recognize her?" Vendra asked. "I don't usually assume crying children are royalty," Marcus said, then internally screamed at himself. Silence stretched. "My daughter does not trust easily," the queen said at last. "She spoke of you every day, drew pictures, declared she would become an engineer because you were one." Marcus stared at the floor. "I just didn't want her to be scared." Something shifted. The queen studied him like a system running unexpected diagnostics. "Most would have seen opportunity," she said quietly. "You saw a child." Then unexpectedly she smiled. "Remain in the palace as project engineer," Vendra said. "My daughter has decided you belong here." Marcus looked down at the sleeping princess and sighed. "Well," he said, "this is new." Marcus thought the danger was social embarrassment. He was very, very wrong. The palace guest wing was nicer than anywhere Marcus had ever lived, which made sense given his previous housing history included a cargo container and a wall thin enough to hear 3 divorces at once. 2 weeks in, Princess Listen found the maintenance shafts. "Marcus," her voice echoed down the tunnel. "I can hear you thinking about air." He looked up to see her peering down through a hatch, ears perked. She was supposed to be in lessons. "How did you—" "I listened." Of course. Against his better judgment and in every safety protocol he let her climb down. He explained airflow like rivers, pressure like arguing neighbors, methane and oxygen like enemies who absolutely needed walls between them or shit exploded. Listen was brilliant, curious, hungry for understanding. Then the alarm screamed. Not maintenance, catastrophic threat. Marcus ran him and was stopped, sealed into lockdown. So he did what engineers do. He checked the systems. Someone was moving through the environmental tunnels, deliberately, precisely, toward the princess. Lord Avok's face appeared on his comm. "They're coming for Princess Listen." Marcus didn't hesitate. "I can slow them," he said, "and I can reach her faster than security." "You're a civilian," Avok snapped. "She trusts me," Marcus said. "And I know these systems better than they do." Silence. "Do it," Avok said. Marcus moved. He twisted airflow, dropped temperatures, made tunnels miserable but survivable. Bought time. Then he reached her door. "Did you make the air weird?" Listen asked calmly. "Yes," Marcus said, holding out his hand. "We're taking the secret paths." She took it without fear. Behind them, the palace prepared for violence. 4 hostile operatives were closing in, and Marcus was about to learn how dangerous kindness could be. Marcus led Listen into the dim tunnels, her small hand clutched in his. The air smelled faintly of ozone and warmed metal, the hum of environmental systems above them like a heartbeat. Normally, these corridors were boring, functional. Today, they were a labyrinthal battlefield. "Are we going to explode?" Listen asked, her pointed ears twitching forward with genuine curiosity. "No, maybe just cough a little," Marcus replied, manipulating airflow to create irritants that slowed the intruders without hurting anyone. "Think of it as tactical discomfort." Listen grinned, like when you tell stories and people groan. He rolled his eyes, exactly like that. They crept through a junction where the main vent split into 3 branches. Marcus's mind raced. He had mapped every inch of the maintenance tunnels in the past 2 weeks, but now his calculations had to account for hostile movement speed, sensor blind spots, and the unpredictable element of a 6-year-old partner. A faint hiss alerted him. The intruders were 4 in number, masked and equipped with portable life support. They moved fast, but Marcus had already prepared traps, pressure differentials that made their path clunky, gusts of cold air to slow them, harmless irritants that forced coughing fits. "Wait," Listen whispered. Footsteps left. She pointed toward a vent grate above. Her ears swiveled independently as she tracked the intruders' echoes, a skill Marcus didn't have. He adjusted. They changed the airflow again, buying seconds. Precious seconds. One misstep and the intruders would detect them. One miscalculation and Listen, the child who had chosen to run toward him weeks ago, would be in danger. Marcus kept his voice calm. "Okay, remember the branching routes, left here, down, then jump to the ladder, got it?" "I got it!" They sprinted, ducking under ducts, climbing small shafts. Marcus's fingers brushed panels, silently adjusting flows to make sure any following intruders encountered resistance. Cold here, hot there, humidity spikes, airflow disruptions. A symphony of environmental traps designed to protect, not harm. They emerged 2 levels below the throne room. Outside, palace security teams had cornered the intruders in a sector Marcus had prepped for capture. 4 enemies, now stuck, coughing, disoriented, and defeated without a shot fired. Marcus exhaled. Listen hopped down beside him, exhilarated. "We did it, like a story." "Yeah," Marcus said, catching his breath. "Story with explosions in imagination only." Behind them, the distant echo of Vendra's voice called them to safety. Marcus realized he wasn't just guiding her. He was protecting a small piece of her life she'd chosen to trust him with. He had slowed the attackers, but now it was official. The Purity Council had marked him, and the palace had seen his methods. Staying would no longer be just about engineering. It would be war, subtle, silent, and deadly. Queen Vendra hugged Listen like she might never let go. Marcus, awkward and sweaty in his uniform, realized he had just survived the most intense public thank you of his life. "Mother, we use the secret path," Listen squealed. Vendra's amber eyes searched Marcus's face. Relief, anger, gratitude, vulnerability, all at once. Marcus shuffled, unsure if he should bow, apologize, or faint. He chose none of the above. "You put yourself at risk," Vendra said, her voice quiet but lethal in its precision. "You moved through my palace like you owned it, while guiding my daughter." "Why?" Marcus swallowed. "Because she's important, not because she's a princess, because she's herself." Vendra's ears twitched minutely. "And because you couldn't stand to see a child in danger." "Yeah," Marcus admitted. "I'm bad at standing still when people might get hurt." The Queen paused. "Now then you'll stay permanently." Marcus blinked. "Wait, what?" "You're not leaving," she said. "The princess has grown attached to you, and you've reminded me what trust and kindness can do." And that's how Marcus Vale, human engineer, ended up with permanent residence in a palace. Security teams gave him grudging respect. Palace staff gave wary nods. Listen had won her first battle for autonomy, armed with curiosity and the willingness to trust. Even after the formal debriefs, the Queen requested one-on-one time. "I need to understand," Vendra said quietly, "why she runs toward danger instead of away from it, and why you're the only one who can guide her safely." Marcus said nothing. How do you explain that 15 minutes of storytelling, stupidity, and care could turn the life of a child, and a sovereign, upside down? Vendra didn't need words. She already knew. And in her amber gaze, Marcus saw trust. Real, unmeasurable, and terrifying. It wasn't over. The Purity Council had already taken notes. The palace knew Marcus's value. And somewhere, in the shadows of interstellar politics, enemies were calculating how to make him pay. 2 weeks later, Marcus was back in the maintenance tunnels. Princess Listen had found them herself, mischievous as ever. "Marcus, I can hear the air again. Let me see." Marcus groaned. "You're supposed to be in literature class." "I'm learning better things." She waved her small hands, ears forward. "Like how air moves, how pressure zones work, and how explosions can be safe." "Explosions that don't actually explode," Marcus said, hiding a grin. They navigated shafts Marcus had mapped meticulously. Air flowed, sensors hummed, lights pulsed. He showed her how methane and oxygen zones stayed separate, how pressure differentials could move air without mixing it. She asked questions that were brilliant, relentless, and terrifyingly precise for a 6-year-old. Then the emergency alert screamed. Not maintenance, catastrophic. Marcus's stomach dropped. Hostile presence, likely Purity Council operatives. Life support readings fluctuated. Someone was inside the palace. Listen froze. Then instinctively she grabbed his hand. "Remember the routes?" Marcus whispered. "We move through the secret paths. Adventure time." She smiled. "Like stories where everything goes wrong but you fix it." Marcus nodded. "Exactly." Through tunnels, ladders, vents, and shafts they ran. Marcus manipulated airflows, created harmless irritants, and bought time. Every calculation measured in seconds, and trust. Listen's perceptive ears guided him. They avoided sensors, stayed silent, and emerged only when security teams had cornered the intruders. Marcus realized then, he wasn't just teaching a child engineering. He was guiding her through survival, through trust, through a palace that considered every human a variable to control. They had survived the first test, but Marcus knew it wouldn't be the last. The Purity Council wasn't done, and neither, apparently, was Princess Listen. The palace settled into uneasy calm. Security teams reviewed every corner, every maintenance shaft, and every corridor Marcus had touched. But the Purity Council's reach had already been demonstrated. They had knowledge, access, and patience. Marcus knew this wasn't an isolated incident. Queen Vendra summoned him privately. Amber eyes sharp, ears alert. "You've proven yourself," she said, "but the council won't stop. They will attempt again, and they'll adapt faster than palace security can respond." Marcus nodded. "I understand. I've optimized systems to isolate breaches, but if they learn the tunnels as fast as I did, it'll be a race we might not win." Vendra leaned back, her gaze never leaving his. "Which is why I'm giving you authority over all palace environmental protocols. You will train selected security officers in system navigation, atmospheric manipulation, and— She paused, voice softer. Keeping my daughter safe. Marcus swallowed. That was a lot of responsibility. And yet somewhere inside he felt a strange thrill. He had always solved engineering problems. This one was alive, breathing, and unpredictable. Princess Listen appeared at the door, ears forward. Marcus, did you tell them about pressure zones for attackers yet? Fendra's lips twitched. She has her own ideas about strategy, she said. Marcus glanced down at her with a mix of exasperation and amusement. She listens better than most adults, he said. The Queen allowed a brief smile. Yes, and she trusts you implicitly. That is both your strength and your greatest vulnerability. The Purity Council had learned one thing. Marcus Vale was no ordinary human, and now they were calculating how to exploit his connection to the princess. Days turned into a rigorous routine. Marcus's mornings were spent inspecting environmental systems. Afternoons were spent demonstrating them to security officers. Evenings? Usually spent explaining airflow, filtration, and pressure zones to Listen, who insisted on being present despite royal protocol. I can do it myself now, Listen said one evening, her dark eyes shining with focus. I can calculate how to reroute oxygen if someone blocks the tunnel. Marcus frowned. And if they're armed? Then we use the funny air, she said, a mischievous grin spreading across her small face. You taught me that one. The girl was fearless in ways Marcus didn't anticipate. She asked questions no 6-year-old should, absorbed explanations no adult could summarize, and tested theories with absolute confidence. The palace had never seen a child like her. Meanwhile, the Purity Council's threat loomed. Marcus was forced to consider not just environmental systems, but timing, stealth, and human behavior. Every adjustment he made, every lesson he taught Listen, doubled as preparation for what was likely coming. And the child he had once comforted at a market fountain had become his partner in defense. Small, bright, and unflinchingly clever. The next intrusion would not be a drill. It would be the Purity Council at full strength, and Marcus's systems, skills, and bond with Listen would be put to the ultimate test. It began quietly. A low hum Marcus didn't recognize in the palace's environmental network. Sensors indicated unauthorized life support units accessing maintenance shafts. He ran diagnostics instantly. The intruders had adapted, learned the tactics that slowed them last time. They were faster, coordinated, and determined. Marcus activated his emergency overlays. Pressure differentials, localized temperature spikes, harmless irritants, all set to channel intruders into areas where palace security waited. Listen appeared at his side, ears forward. I can help, she whispered. I know shortcuts they won't see. Marcus hesitated, but only for a second. Stay close, follow my lead, no heroics. Through the tunnels they went, racing, climbing, ducking under vents. Marcus adjusted airflows in real time, guiding both intruders and allies. Listen's perceptive ears detected echoes that Marcus couldn't hear. Together they became a single unit. Human ingenuity and child intuition fused into something neither the Purity Council nor the palace had ever seen. Security teams engaged intruders precisely where Marcus predicted, using his modifications to their advantage. The attackers stumbled, disoriented, and trapped. None were injured, yet all were neutralized. Marcus exhaled, sweat dripping down his face. Listen grinned, triumphant. Like a story, but Marcus knew better. Stories didn't usually involve powerful political factions, palace security implications, and children running through maintenance tunnels. This was real, and it was far from over. Someone had already observed Marcus and Listen during the incident. The Purity Council would report back. They would evolve. And Marcus realized that the next encounter might demand more than clever engineering. It could demand everything he had. Days after the failed attempt, Marcus and palace security reviewed every corridor, shaft, and hidden access point. Every environmental system was double-checked, triple-checked, and simulated for contingencies. Yet the Purity Council's sophistication left Marcus uneasy. Queen Viendra summoned him privately. Her expression was a mixture of determination and concern. They will strike again, she said, and next time, they won't make the same mistakes. Marcus nodded. Then we prepare. I'll refine the systems, create decoys, and run predictive simulations. Listen appeared beside him, holding a tablet displaying her own airflow calculations. I know how to make it harder for the bad guys. Vandra's eyes softened. I've never met anyone like you, Marcus Vale, and yet neither has she. As Marcus optimized, the palace became a living trap. Corridors that changed pressure, temperature gradients that guided intruders into neutralized zones, and alarms that worked invisibly to the casual observer. Marcus had designed it like a chessboard, the Purity Council, the unwitting pieces. And the council would play next thinking they understood the board. Marcus knew better, and this time he had Listen at his side. And she was not just a child. She was a strategist. It happened at twilight. Marcus, monitoring environmental sensors, noticed unusual energy readings near the royal chambers. Hostiles had breached again. Listen, stay behind me, he instructed. Though he already knew she wouldn't, she never did. Through the maintenance shafts they went, ducking under vents, climbing air ducts, and rerouting pressure flows on the fly. Listen shouted observations and corrections faster than Marcus could calculate, her Celestian ears picking up even the faintest signals of movement. They emerged near the throne room just as security teams engaged the Purity Council operatives. The intruders moved as Marcus anticipated, but his and Listen's manipulations had channeled them directly into containment zones. The council was caught, disoriented and neutralized without serious injury, a testament to Marcus's ingenuity and Listen's acute instincts. Queen Viendra, observing from a secure balcony, allowed herself a rare smile. Marcus crouched next to Listen. That was incredible, he said. Like a story, she said, grinning, except I got to help. Marcus couldn't help but laugh, the best kind of story. The Purity Council had been stopped, not through brute force but through the fusion of human ingenuity and Celestian perception. Marcus's clever engineering and Listen's unique abilities had made an unbeatable team. Weeks later, the palace had returned to a tense yet stable rhythm. Marcus was officially appointed Chief Environmental Engineer, with unrestricted access to all systems. His quarters remained comfortable, yet functional, designed for quick access to maintenance tunnels, now officially sanctioned for him and Listen. Princess Listen continued her lessons, blending traditional royal education with applied engineering exercises Marcus provided. She thrived under the dual mentorship of the palace tutors and her favorite engineer. One evening, Marcus and Queen Viendra stood on the balcony overlooking the bioluminescent gardens, hands intertwined. The girls' laughter echoed softly from the chambers. She's happy, Marcus said quietly. Viendra's amber eyes reflected the soft garden light. More than I've seen in years. You've done more than protect her. You've given her freedom to explore, to trust, to be herself. Marcus smiled. I just didn't want her to be scared. And yet, Viendra said, a faint smile touching her lips, you've become indispensable, not just to her but to all of us. Later, inside, Listen called from her study. Marcus, come check my new pressure differential calculation. Marcus laughed, following the voice. Viendra followed quietly, her hand brushing against his. It wasn't just protection, duty, or protocol anymore. It was family. Built, like the palace systems, on careful design, trust, and a little ingenuity. The palace hummed quietly around them, perfectly regulated for multiple species, yet now more alive than ever. And Marcus Vale realized, sometimes the best engineering project wasn't fixing systems. It was creating a world where people could breathe easier together. Marcus stayed. The Purity Council was thwarted. Princess Listen thrived. Queen Viendra trusted him. And the palace, once a place of strict rules and hierarchy, had become a home for all of them.